Alright guys, Papa Pepper here. This is video 13 in my Advice from Papa series, and this one's not really so much advice, but as I'm trying to share things with newer users, I want to share a little bit about how to understand Steemit more, how to share the idea with others more, how to have people, yourself first of all, grasp what's going on, and then secondly, to be able to have that knowledge and understand it and impart it to others. Because really, when you mention Steemit, a lot of times people haven't heard of it. When you mention getting paid for blogging online, a lot of people just think scam or pyramid scheme. When you mention blockchain, a lot of people don't know what you're talking about. Cryptocurrency, a lot of people don't know what you're talking about. When you mention Bitcoin, a lot of people don't know what you're talking about. So obviously there's a learning curve. When I started, I didn't know what Steemit was. I didn't know really what Bitcoin was. I didn't know what a cryptocurrency was. I didn't know what a blockchain was. Now, I don't have a full understanding of all this stuff, but I've learned quite a bit and understand some general concepts, because one of the hardest things that people have is, well, where does the money come from? It's kind of always part of the question there. So first of all, let's start off with a blockchain. A blockchain, if you just ask Google, would say a digital ledger in which transactions made in Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency are recorded chronologically and publicly. So each time something occurs, normally it would just be the transactions, but on Steemit, it's the whole interaction. It's everything that's occurring is recorded, and it's time-stamped. It can't be altered, and it's also public. It's one reason why you can pretty much walk up to anyone's account in Steemit, click on their wallet, and you can see their total account value. It's public. And if you type in a message and later you go back and edit it, well, there is still a recording of the original message. You haven't edited the original message. You've updated it to say something else now, but the original message is still recorded there, so those who know how to access the actual blockchain, they can see that information. Now, when we talk about Steem Power, and Steem dollars, we really have, there's two coins in Steemit, Steem dollars and Steem. And Steem dollars was always kind of pegged to be about $1, and for a while it just kind of fluctuated right around there. Eventually it shot up to $6 and hung around for $2 for a while, and now is kind of back down around like $1.33, about 133 or so, like that. Last I was looking at it. And then Steem kind of is not quite as I don't want to say stable, but not quite as pegged to be a certain consistency. So that's been as low recently as about 10 cents back a couple months ago, and then last summer it was worth over $4. They were trading at $4.40. And the part that I want to point out to remember for us users who were here before, and then to point out to you newer users, is there was a time last summer when people thought that paying over $4 per Steem token was a good investment. Now, obviously, as of yet, that has not worked out for them, but there was a time when people thought, oh yeah, I'll drop more than $4 on one Steem token. And I think we could see that point coming up again as this community continues to build and grow, and as people begin to grasp this and also see the tangible expressions of what's provided by the community. And I'll get into that a little bit more too. But and if you think about it, I mean, even Bitcoin, $2,000 to $2,500 here recently. People are buying that. So, $4 per Steem, $5 per Steem is not unheard of. It's not irrational. There's a time when people look at that, it makes sense to them. So, within Steemit, I'm going to take this two different ways to help people understand it, because does Steemit pay you money? Well, Steemit pays you in its own currency. I'll just say Steam right now. They pay you in Steam. And Steam is the currency of Steemit. And in itself, it is a currency, but unless you're exchanging it with other Steemians for services rendered, or for them to send you something, if it's through like a Steam Gigs or when we had the Peer Hub, stuff like that. Unless you're doing that, you can't really take your Steam and go spend it at the local store. You have to convert your Steam. So Steemit generates a certain amount of Steam on a daily basis. That Steam is available for distribution. Obviously when people sign up and they get an account, there's some Steam in there already. Some Steam that, Steemit, the group, the entity, the community has, is delegated, allocated for new accounts. Some goes to compensate the witnesses, and then some is for dispersal among the community. Now let's say every day I had, let's say I'm Steemit, and every day I put out 10 Steam, and everyone sits there and does what they do. They post, they comment, they curate. Well, at the end of the day, that Steam would just get split up based on how much went where. It's almost kind of like if you had a company and they were paying you in stock. The company says, hey, okay, everyone who interacts here, does whatever here, we'll kind of measure what goes on, and everyone gets some amount of the stock at the end of the day. Well, the stock you can't do anything with yourself, but you can sell it on a trading stock market, and then you can convert it into a different currency. It's the same thing with Steam, other than that Steam is not a stock. It is a currency. It's a cryptocurrency. So you can take it to Bittrex or some other trading platform, and you can trade it, exchange it for Bitcoin or Dash or something else, and then you can actually convert that into USD or some other currency and spread it up that way. And people may wonder, well, how can they just make their own currency? How is that possible? Well, how does the U.S. government make their own currency? Actually, they don't. They have the Federal Reserve banking system make the money for them now. They gave up that right, I think, in 1913, Woodrow Wilson. And then the Federal Reserve Bank, lends it to the country, and the country pays interest on it. So that's a much worse system, actually, if we think about it. But anytime you have a group of people that come together, now we can call it a nation, often in the real world, so to say, these nations have physical borders. Maybe it's an island, maybe it's something, but as soon as that's seen as a nation, they can kind of call their own shots. They can make their own currency. Well, Steemit is a virtual nation, and they make their own currency, and they choose, rather than just to do something else, they empower the people. They allow the people who interact there to have a portion of what's distributed, and based on again the Steam power. Steam power influences the amount of payouts. So you'll have minnows, which are pretty much entry-level Steemians for a while. And as they start off with their couple Steam, and it slowly grows, eventually they can get up to where you call it a dolphin. A dolphin has more. And then above a dolphin is whales. And a lot of the whales, I think, bought cheap Steam early on. So, when I first joined, you'd see posts paying out over $1,000. You'd see single upvotes from certain whales kicking things up hundreds of dollars, where a whale would just come over, go click, and all of a sudden the post would be up, hundreds of dollars. And when you look at the post payouts, then, if you've noticed with your own, you don't get paid that full amount. That's the total amount that post is going to pay out, but it pays out a portion to the author and a portion to the curator. So those people out there clicking, with their Steam power, are actually getting a portion of it. And you may think, oh, that's terrible. Well, it gives them incentive to go out there and vote for posts like yours, for posts that other people are posting on there. And that's why sometimes you'll see where you got a certain number of views, a certain number of votes, a certain payout. Well, you can get votes from, 300 minnows. And if they don't have very much combined steam power, you'd have a post with, still 0 cents or mere cents these days. Or you could get one vote from another user and have it go up dollars because they have more steam power. So it's not really the user, the username, any of that. It's how much steam power they have. It's not a matter of the number of votes, but how much steam power is voting. You'll also notice that sometimes there's not a lot of views, but there's a ton of votes, and you'll be like, wow, 4 people viewed this, yet 30 people voted on it, and the post is at like, $40. How is that possible? Well, with the curators, which are people who upvote stuff, and we all have that opportunity, we can earn author rewards and curation rewards. But as the curators go out and curate, they get a portion. So there's a incentive for curators to find authors who do a consistently good job and reach a certain number of level of kind of payouts. And then what they're going to do is they're going to find them and say, this is a good horse to bet on. If I set an auto voter, that my account will automatically upvote whatever post they put up at, 17 minutes or whatever it is, they can choose. Then they're automatically supplying that author with certain funding through the upvote, and they're automatically going to have a certain amount of curation rewards that they reap from the total payout of that post. So anyone can actually set up an auto voter. There's sites like Steemit and other things where people just select what authors they want. They select what time they want to upvote them. They select the percentage they want to upvote them with, and then every time Dave KS or somebody, I'm just using him as an example, puts a post at 4 minutes, you'll see a Papa Pepper upvote there. Now it's not what I do, but I'm using it as an example. And that's why you're going to find these things. And some people prefer to manually do everything. Some people are kind of against bots completely. But they certainly are permissible. They are allowed. And they are a piece to the Steemit puzzle these days. So don't be disappointed when you get a $9 post and only $8 goes in your pocket or something like that. It's just the way the system's set up. Nobody's trying to rip you off, nothing like that. And interesting thing, when Steam Back Dollars was up to like $2, you'd actually get, if you had a 50-50 payout, you get paid half in Steam dollars, half in Steam power. Well, those Steam dollars, if you had an $8 post, that was your payout. Roughly you'd get about 4 Steam power, and depending on the price, if it was around $1, 4 Steam power, then 4 Steam dollars. But you can go sell those Steam dollars for $8, and then you're making out ahead of time. So again, with Steemit, what is Steemit? It's an online community. We could call it a virtual nation. They have their own currency. It operates on a blockchain, so everything's tracked, everything's documented, and that's why blockchains are great for storing data too. I know that a lot of the data people really want to store and make sure is there. It's kind of personal information, which isn't exactly ideal to be putting in a public, something that can be publicly accessed. But whatever's documented on the blockchain, is there on the blockchain, and it shows that it happened, that transaction occurred, or that interaction was registered. And as I looked at this thing before, I had a friend who knew there was value in it. He didn't understand it all, but he says, I can tell that there's value here. And eventually he got me involved. Naganu, he just did a great post on kind of how to cash out through Bittrex, Coinbase, and then a Shift card. And that's what I use. I swipe mine like a debit card. It's tied to Bitcoin, which I purchased with Steam, and I can, take $200 out of an ATM. I can spend up to $1,000 a day. I can use it, and what I'm doing right now is just withdrawing some money because I plan on building a house. And even that, I have dreams, I have goals, I have aspirations. I want to build a house for my family. Why do I want to build it? Because it costs less than I can provide a lot of labor myself. I have various friends in construction who can help as well. And therefore my cost is mostly material rather than paying for the material and the builder and everything else. But also I want to do it debt free so I don't have a mortgage or rent to pay. And you know, Steemit comes out, I started interacting there, and also I'm doing very well. And you know, it looks like Steemit's gonna be buying me a house. That because of the success I've been able to have within the community, because Steemit is real. It really pays you. It doesn't just pay you in some fake money. I mean, it's something tangible. It's a real currency that you can exchange. You can turn into the currency of your native land. You know, here I can turn it into US dollars, and then I can purchase things in the US with my US dollars and build myself a house with them. So people are like, you know, well, how is that possible? How are you getting this money? Where does it come from? Well, they generate their own currency, which you can exchange and turn into other currencies. And kind of rambling here, but just still blown away by the whole thing. When you try to explain it to others, it's often difficult. Often you can even, you know, show them money and say, see, and they doubt, they don't understand. But that's part of a thing too that Mary J 99 a while ago pointed out, is that you don't have to fully understand something to have it work. You know, if I was a diabetic and, you know, needed insulin, I wouldn't fully need to understand what insulin is, what it does. I could just know that it works. If I'm going to jump in a car and drive, I don't need to understand an internal combustion engine. I can just drive it. I don't need to fully understand Steemit as a platform, as a community, as a social media. I don't need to fully understand cryptocurrencies or blockchains to have it work. Even when I first started actually withdrawing Steem dollars at first, actually mostly, and turn it into US dollars, I didn't understand the process completely. I had to be walked through every step of the way. I'd sit there on the phone with my friend and okay, and then click this and then type in what number, and he'd watch the market and he'd walk me through it, and eventually I'm like, wow, okay, I don't know what just happened. I don't know how it all went down, but you know, I just took $200 out of the ATM, so something's working here. That's just kind of some of my thoughts. There's many people who understand things a lot better than I do when it comes to this stuff. Like I said, I'm on a 10-month learning curve. But what I can vouch for is the validity of the system. I can vouch for this community. I can vouch for what it's doing in my life. And even if it seems too good to be true, what if it was just too good and true? Wouldn't you want to be the one who, you know, took advantage of the opportunity, that you went forward when you had the option, and were able to reap a return on the investment? So again, just Papa Pepper sharing with you guys on a little bit more about what Steemit is, because somebody had a question about kind of some of the votes and the views and the payouts and that type of stuff, and I definitely wanted to cover that, but kind of give a little bit more of a background on the whole thing too. So, all right, pop out, steam on.